It's the Sittin Sportside podcast, exclusively on 1045theteam.com.
Yeah. Shady. Aftermath. Gee, you nick. Damn, baby, all I need is a little bit.
It is the 1045 The Team's podcast, exclusive Sittin Sportside podcast. I am in it. I am Eric Hanneman. Man, what a start to this podcast. And maybe it's fitting that this podcast starts off a little bit bumpy because we really haven't talked to NBA with you guys at all for a long time. And guess what? The reason for that is, and sorry, Mike, if you're listening, is Mike James doesn't really keep up with the NBA. And I've gotten sour on it in certain instances. I still watch. My team is the Nets. They've been good this year, so we'll touch on them a little bit. But this is a brief podcast, no longer than 10 minutes. And we'll just talk about the state of the NBA, certain things going on. Obviously, Anthony Davis. That we'll address that a little bit, as well as the playoff teams. And really something that I have to put out there, that if you've read my blog about my bold predictions of this year, can no longer be seen as valid because things done changed. But yeah, like I said before, I had been sour on the NBA because I haven't watched as much as I had in the past. I always get excited for All-Star Weekend, so that's coming up. And as well as the NBA is still fun to watch when you see a good game. But it's not something that I would watch as much as I had in the past, which is why I hadn't been urging Mike or just to talk about it in general. So that's why we haven't talked about it a lot on the Sittin Sportside podcast. But here we are for something for you NBA fans to take in. Just me, Eric Hanneman, on this podcast. We'll keep it brief, so we got about 8 minutes left on the podcast. So let's start off by saying this about my Brooklyn Nets. They are looking really good this season, but the thing is, you lost Karis LeVert early in the year, only after 14 games played, and then you recently just lost Spencer Dinwiddie for a little bit here. The good news is they're in a really good position to make the playoffs, but the problem is you're going to get a first-round matchup, most likely against one of the top four teams, Bucks, Raptors, Celtics, 76ers. And that's not a series that they're necessarily going to be favored in. No, they're definitely not going to be favored in. And it's not even necessarily a series that they're going to be able to win. I hear that. But at the same time, this is a team that's really underrated because defensively, they've gotten a lot better. Damari Carroll, Jarrett Allen have been very good defensively for this team. Allen still has shown to me, when I have watched the games, a little bit of immaturity still around, but he's blocked some really good players, including LeBron James. I believe James Harden as well. So he's done a very good job defensively, and that's why this team is what it is. If you get Karis LeVert back, Spencer Dinwiddie's supposed to be back as well. That is huge. You're bringing in two of your other top scorers. They're all guards though, with D'Angelo Russell being in there, the now All-Star D'Angelo Russell, and another guy I mentioned is Rondae Hollis-Jefferson's very good defensively. So that part to me is very important because they are playing good defense and they're winning basketball games because of defense a lot of the time as well. Because you don't have anyone averaging more than 20 points a game. They are able to be well balanced enough to win some of these games. And with Dinwiddie and LeVert out, Shabazz Napier has stepped up a lot and played very well. Joe Harris is really important to them from the 3-point range. So they're a really good, well-rounded team. The problem is, in the NBA and the way we're looking at this right now, I just don't really know who they could beat. I don't think they could beat any of those aforementioned top four teams. So that's where we stand right now in terms of where the Nets are. I feel good about the team and the way they've become, but the first time you have a first-round draft pick that is your own, it doesn't have to be swapped or anything like that. Of course you're going to make the playoffs and be a high draft pick and not get something that's really going to change your franchise. But the good news is you have Spencer Dinwiddie, who I love, as well as Karis LeVert, who's been very good, and D'Angelo Russell has obviously been very good scoring-wise. The problem is any of those three going to step up and be that game-changing and franchise-transcending player? I'm not sure, but here they are in the playoff picture. Another team in the playoff picture right now that I think will make the playoffs is the Indiana Pacers, and I had said that I believe that they were going to not only win the Eastern Conference, but this is a bold prediction I had on my 2019 bold predictions. I predicted that they were possibly going to win the NBA championship because I really like this team, the way they played last year against LeBron and the Cavaliers in the playoffs. That's not happening anymore. I mean, I hate to the caveat is there. I mean, I have the right now to pull back from that because Victor Oladipo is out for the season, and he makes that team go. They have struggled to find their footing since Oladipo went down. I still think this is a team that's going to be good enough to win enough games to get to the playoffs, especially with the 14 games over 500. And a team like the Detroit Pistons right now are almost 10 games out, or a little bit more than 10 games out of them. So they're in fine enough position to make the playoffs. But without Oladipo, unless they make a move for a Mike Conley or somebody else out there, I'm not sure who else could really fit that role. That's the problem. No one's going to fit the Oladipo role. He's made this team go. He's one of the more elite players that I think gets overlooked actually at this point. He was an All-Star. That's who D'Angelo Russell replaced to get on the All-Star team. So, man, it stinks because this is a team that I thought was going to surprise and turn some heads this season. And I really like them, obviously, to pick them to make to be the Eastern Conference representative in the finals. But, man, it stinks that he's out for the year. Still got some really good talented players, in my opinion, with Miles Turner. Bojan Bogdanovic is underrated as well. Thaddeus Young, but Oladipo was easily the best player on that team, and him being off the team, they're not going to be able to really probably push a team like the Raptors, Celtics, Sixers, or Bucks in a 7-game series. So that's unfortunately the end of that prediction for me as well. Let's quickly talk about the Western Conference. Are the Lakers going to make the playoffs? Are they going to trade? The most recent offer for the Anthony Davis package, right, is now Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, Kyle Kuzma, as well as draft picks and salary cap relief to the New Orleans Pelicans. And the Pelicans don't do that deal. I think it's stupid. But the problem is Lonzo Ball, his dad, LeVar, of course, I don't know how much pull he has and what's going to happen if that happens, but says he doesn't want his son playing in New Orleans. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. I don't understand why you can't. What's the difference of playing in certain areas? He wants his son to be playing for the Phoenix Suns. I just don't know where he's going and what is. Like, think about this if you're LeVar Ball. And I know you still have Drew Holiday if you're the Pelicans, but you want your son to go to play with Devin Booker for the Phoenix Suns. I mean, Booker is a lot better than Lonzo, and he's going to be the point guard or the primary ball handler at least for that team. So I don't know why you want him to go to Phoenix so bad in terms of pure basketball, but bring him to New Orleans, fine. Like that stupid stuff aside, the Ball, Ingram, and Kuzma package, I think those are 3 really solid players, and then you add draft picks. I'm not sure the draft picks are really, as good as they seem, because you're not going to get, because Davis goes there and LeBron, they're going to make the playoffs. They're going to be high draft picks. They're not going to be these lottery draft picks. I get that. But what else are you getting for Anthony Davis? What are you waiting for to get for Anthony Davis? I guess you're waiting to get Jason Tatum from the Boston Celtics. Is that going to happen? I'm not sure Danny Ainge or Brad Stevens would even let that happen. So I don't know what else the Pelicans are going to get. But the problem, I don't know about the problem. The thing of it is here, they have time to wait. But the problem for them is that if they do wait too long, things can fall off the table. You know, a team that didn't wait was the New York Knicks. They met with Kristaps Porzingis. He said he didn't like the way the team was going, and you're gone. You're traded. Boss move by the Knicks, in my opinion. To give my thoughts on that trade, I'll say this: he's one of the most fragile players in all basketball, Kristaps Porzingis. So you can't even guarantee he's going to stay on the court for you. He's a really good player, mind you. I love that's tantalizing to think Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis on the same team. That could be a really awesome combo, almost circa like Steve Nash and Dirk Nowitzki, if you really want to go old school and talk about an old Mavs team. But yeah, that's tantalizing. But Kristaps Porzingis is he's kind of a head case in a way too, and he's very fragile. He's a 7'3" skinny dude who gets injured every other Tuesday in some capacity. And so you don't believe in him being able to stay healthy. You're able to trade for Dennis Smith Jr., who is, I get you could have drafted him instead of Ntilikina. I was actually all for drafting Dennis Smith at that point if I was the Knicks. I know Phil Jackson, you can blame him and whatnot, but now you have both. Okay, now you have both, and Dennis Smith Jr. is a really good young player. You add in, I believe, a future first-round draft pick. Probably not going to be that high, but it could. You never know. Porzingis is out. Doncic possibly gets injured. That's one of the worst teams in the NBA, right? I know Harrison Barnes is still there, but still one of the worst teams in the NBA. So that could possibly turn into a really good draft pick. And then on top of it all, you have 2 spots for free agents. Now, I get that everyone wants KD and AD or something to that extent. I get that. But if you end up with Kyrie, Jimmy Butler, or one of those two, and another one, that is still a success in my opinion. You need bigger players. Where are you at right now? Like, I get Jimmy Butler isn't Kevin Durant. They're very different players in certain circumstances, but also similar in others. I mean, they're different. There's 6'11" versus, 6'5"? So they're different. I get that you want the cream of the crop, but it's better than what you had before. And I know the max deals really pigeonholes you in certain situations. So I get that. But at the same time, like Knicks, you need to do something different. If you can go out and sign 2 max free agents, have a top 5 draft pick, if not top 3, get a Zion Williamson or RJ Barrett in this draft. Some pretty good players in this draft, on top of having Dennis Smith Jr. Look, that's a really good team. Don't pigeonhole yourself, Knicks fans. It's actually a really good thing. The problem is, are you going to get anyone to come to the Knicks? And that's where the problem lies. But what they've been doing is really making good enough moves to set them up to be able to be good teams. So that's my current thoughts on the NBA. I think the Lakers are fine. They're going to make the playoffs. The Clippers are falling out of it. So I do think that the top 7 plus the Lakers instead of the other LA team, the Clippers, will be the final. In terms of the Eastern Conference, the Heat are falling a little bit. The Hornets are kind of there. But I would say that the only team I'm really scared, quote-unquote, scared about possibly coming in is the Detroit Pistons. Washington Wizards, I'm not really too scared about them. Magic have played pretty well throughout the year at certain times, but also isn't a team that I'd be too threatened about. So I think Dwayne Wade's last season is probably going to be a playoff loss first round to the Bucks. I think everything's staying the same in the East, with the Pistons being a possible wild card team there. And in the Western Conference, it's the top 7 teams and the Lakers that are probably going to make the playoffs. So I hope you guys enjoy your dunk contest and 3-point contest. I might be on to preview those when it gets a little bit closer, but those should be fun. Enjoy the All-Star game. And, of course, if you want to see any fantasy baseball, if you're a fantasy baseball player, I will be doing very good amount of fantasy baseball stuff with you guys. I already have one podcast up, so you can go check that one out, where I talk about 6 players who absolutely killed it in September of last season and my expectation for them going into this season. So take a look at that podcast, and other fantasy baseball podcasts will be coming up, as well as my division previews, 3rd annual division previews. Those will be coming up more towards the middle of March, while fantasy baseball will be coming mid-February to the beginning of March. Fantasy baseball first, then the division previews coming up after that. So thank you for listening to the Sittin Sportside podcast. I'm Eric Cannon. We will see you next time right here on the Sittin Sportside podcast on 104.5 The Team and the free 104.5 The Team app.